something, and I had this planned a couple days ago, but I had to postpone it because I wanted to see what the commentary was as things evolved. And that was basically, why not? Why would we not look at bringing in somebody like Justin Fields, assuming the price is right? Why would we not bring in competition for Tua Tagovailoa? Now, let me just say it straight off the bat. I am not advocating, and I am not going to even hint at trading Tua or cutting Tua. Nope, that's not what I'm saying. I'm here to be basically the witness for the prosecution. I'm here to bring you information as it comes out and say, hey, listen, what about this guy? And then you can talk about it. And we can say, this guy might make sense. It's too expensive. Doesn't mean anything to us. But one thing I want to make sure we all understand is when people immediately, you'll see some of these responses. Tua's better than him. I'm like, hey, man. And I've asked people this a number of times, and never have I received an answer. And that question is, can you define better? And those of you who are here tonight, and thank you for tuning in, and by the way, hit the like button.
Come on, show some love and click that like button.
If you think that Tua is better than any of the players I'm going to mention tonight, please feel free to define better. Nobody has been able to define better. Not sure why. They get mad that you even bring up the fact of bringing in competition against Tua. I don't see there's any reason why there would be any problem with there being competition brought in to compete against Tua. And then now, the next thing I want to just put out there, next qualifying asterisk. Mike White is not competition for Tua. He's a body, a placeholder that Mike McDaniel brought in case Tua got hurt. He's not competing with Tua. And he's not competing with Tua because of the same reasons that you're going to have to figure out when you define better. And please, in the comments, don't tell me anything about stats. Stats don't mean anything. They don't mean diddly. You need to define better in a way that we can discuss it. And talking about stats, so Jameis Winston is better. Is that what you're saying? Stats don't make somebody better. I'll get into what those attributes are, and then you can talk apples to apples, not apples to numbers, because a lot of people want to do that. And so maybe I can just go ahead and jump into that right now. Let's define the attributes of a quarterback. And then you can, as we talk, tell me who Tua is better than. All right, you ready? First attribute, arm strength. Arm strength to make the long throws. Arm strength to make the throws outside the numbers. Arm strength to get it zipped into those windows that are tight. Arm strength. Who has a better arm? Number two, mobility. In this day and age, and you're going to see it on Sunday, you have to have a mobile quarterback. You don't have to have Michael Vick, but you have to have a mobile quarterback. And you have to have a quarterback willing to take off and stick his head in there when need be. Otherwise, you end up limiting the offense. So who's more mobile? Number three, health/durability. Which quarterbacks of the ones I talked to you tonight are more durable? So you got three right there so far. You got arm strength, you've got mobility, and you've got durability. Then we're going to talk about accuracy. That's number four. Mobility, health, arm strength, and accuracy. Which quarterback is more accurate? Number five, speed. All-out speed. If you're going to be mobile and you're going to be lumbering around out there, that's not really conducive to a good all-around quarterback. How fast are you? How quick are you? Quick and speed are two different things, but if you have a burst, can you get there if you need to? And then, of course, what I got two more for you. Intangible. The intangible meaning, who's got bigger heart? Who has the heart to be the leader on a field, a leader on the sideline, a leader in the locker room, who has shown to have a bigger heart. That's a huge intangible. That's an intangible to me that should be one of the top on the list. I want fire. I want someone who's got absolute fire. Next one, and this is probably where a lot of people fawn over Tua. Coachability. Which quarterback that I talked to you about has the ability to improve if they had the chance to have a coach like Mike McDaniel improve and tell them what they need to do to fit in a scheme? So those are the criteria that define a better quarterback, not stats. Again, arm strength, mobility, health, durability, accuracy, speed, the intangibles, and coachability. That's what defines better, not stats. So, with that being, let me stop there and see if anyone has any questions before we go any further, because I know it already. There are going to be people who, when I start mentioning, especially Justin Fields, Tua is much better. And I don't want to waste my time even responding to comments where someone says somebody is better without giving it a true answer as to why do you think he's better, going through those attributes. It should be pretty easy just to go through the attributes and say, is Tua better than XYZ guy? It's pretty simple. What happens is a lot of people don't want to look at that. A lot of people don't want to put Tua through that kind of scrutiny. A lot of people don't know how to put Tua through that kind of scrutiny because of their own bias. They're not willing to say, hey, when I talk about intangibles, is Tua's heart as strong as the rest of these guys? Inevitably, they're going to say, yeah, he's got heart. Okay, when did he show it? What did he do to show you? And I'll ask you that. Talk to people all day on Twitter. Once you put them in a situation where they have to defend their statements, and I'm sure it'll happen in these comments, there come the ad hominems. There comes the names. There comes the insults. Oh, you're a clown. You're an idiot. Nobody likes you. Okay, that all being said, can you tell me who's got better arm strength? I don't even need to discuss. Okay, I'm not going to do that tonight. If you don't have the ability to discuss what the better skill set is, then you're probably not going to enjoy the show too much, because I'll just probably ignore you, and I don't care if you get mad. This is for the adults in the room who actually want to look at some things. So, that being said, let's see here. I'm pretty sure that the 49... Where's this? Pretty sure... Make sure it comes up. There it goes. Pretty sure that the 49ers had a similar plan for Trey Lance, and look how that turned out. Yep, and they got rid of him quick. I always heard from a man that I have a lot of trust in: hire slow, fire fast. Hire slow, fire fast. Hey, I made a mistake with this guy. He's got to go. And they did it very quickly. They just didn't let it linger for years and years, hoping that he would improve. That's another thing I keep hearing about Tua. He's improving every year. To what position? Oh, well, he'll get better again next year. How do you know? Nobody ever wants to answer that next follow-up question. Like I said, as a witness for the prosecution here, or like a lawyer, hey, okay, so what makes you think that? What makes you think that Tua can improve next year? What's he going to do that's going to do? I mean, I understand he did an interview at the Pro Bowl, which we won't talk about that tonight. We've talked about that already, where he says, I've got to improve in 4 areas. Well, I hope it's one of the 7 that I mentioned. I think he's coachable. You're not going to improve your speed. That ain't going to happen at this point in your career. Your accuracy is good. Your health, yeah, you can improve that. Your mobility, yeah, arm strength, good luck. So, anyway. Tua was in, here we go with it. Tua was in the MVP conversation this year before all the injuries. If Tua was in the conversation for MVP, that was based on stats. Purely stats. When the stats stopped coming and the losses started coming, you're no longer an MVP. Do you know why? I'll tell you why. Because at that point, you couldn't carry the team. San Francisco had a tremendous amount of injuries. Kansas City Chiefs, their receivers couldn't catch the ball. But they're playing on Sunday. They're not making excuses. Some of you guys make lots of excuses for Tua. Hey, he didn't have, this guy, and this didn't happen, and the yen did this, and the infrastructure did that. So he couldn't be an MVP. You understand what you're saying? What an MVP is? An MVP is someone who raises the boats. Like a rising tide. This person gets everybody to play better. He does the best he can with the players that he has. Every team gets banged up. Every team gets hurt. He didn't do it. Didn't do it. So that doesn't work with me. Preach it, Barry. How you doing? I know a lot of people get pissed off because I just talk directly. I'm just over it. Miami was winning games. So you pretty much did a Rip Van Winkle in December. Yeah. Because you're again basically looking at history when the present went right in front of you. They didn't play. They didn't play in the playoffs. Boom, you got one game, go home. And you're talking to me about what happened early? Come on, man, grow up. I mean, what have you done for me lately? You got to do it in your personal relationships. You got to do it at your job. You can't say, hey, listen, I was the best salesman of the year last year. I was a salesman of the month in June, but you didn't sell shit in the last 3 months. Yeah, but I was the best salesman, and I came in second in March. Yeah, but you didn't sell shit in January, December, and November. So, hey, Mikey, if you're not selling anything, I can't keep you. I can give you a pat on the back and a plaque for being, a great salesman earlier, but what have you done for me lately? That's what you guys don't understand. This is a performance-based position. It is not a historical-based position. The two teams playing on Sunday are still performing. They're still there. Everybody else, and I do mean everybody else, had a failed season. Why? Because you're only as good as the last game. You have to win your last game of the season to be considered a great team. And even those great teams will look to improve next year. So talking about who we could bring in to compete with Tua doesn't really matter how much you won. It's about improving upon that squad and saying, what can we do better? I guarantee you, the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers, both of them, will look to improve next year. That's what elite great teams do. If Andy Reid retires, they're not going to bring in some bullshit secondary coach or a run game coordinator for a Super Bowl team. No way. They're going to have to bring in somebody elite. Of elite caliber to run that team. Maybe that's why Belichick and Carroll are still on the sidelines. Vrabel. They're not going to do anything to go backwards. You're going to see them draft. You're going to see them in a free agent. Every single move is to get better. But they've got the best quarterback in the NFL. Arguably one of the best quarterbacks ever in the NFL. Brock Purdy, he still has room to improve, but he's playing this Sunday. Tua Tagovailoa, I don't know what he's doing. Watching TV, maybe doing interviews. But you're only as good as your last game. I guarantee you, whoever loses on Sunday will fly home on the plane. The coaches will be thinking, what do we need to do to get better next year? It seems like it's only the Miami Dolphins are like, hey, don't touch Tua. You can't touch Tua. Tua is untouchable. In fact, I'm going to show you something that really scared the hell out of me today. The narrative that Tua is the best since Marino is weak and delusional. You hit that one on the head. When Marino played 30 years ago, and in between you've had shit, it's kind of not too hard to be the best in 30 years because the other guy sucked. That's not really saying much. It's not saying much at all. You only had a standard to beat this high. Your standards are too low. Why wouldn't he be one of the best in the league instead of one of the best we've had? You got to qualify that. He's just one of the best that Miami's had. So that's absolutely nuts as well. Football is like tennis. That's funny. Dolphins got outcoached in game versus good teams. Hey, Brett, how you doing? Yeah, they did, absolutely. And this is another thing. People are his play calling got cute. Yeah, I agree with that. Tua does absolutely not have the arm strength to throw deep. Yeah, I can't disagree with that. Sea Devil, here you go. Performance, where is that? Performance, space, and stats don't matter. Nothing matters except one-man teams winning like Lamar and Josh. They win Super Bowls every year. Well, I don't think we're talking about Lamar and, what's his name? Josh Allen. Not talking about them, but they didn't win this year. So who's saying that those guys don't need to improve? Of course they need to improve. Of course they do. You're missing the whole point. Minimally, management should bring Fields a challenge to it, and do not, under any circumstances, give Tua a big payday and long-term contract unless you're imbeciles. I've said that. If you're looking to cover up a mistake and give Tua $45 or $50 million, go ahead and do it. I would love for the Miami Dolphins to do it. Why? Because they'd give me a boatload of content for next year. I think Tua is close to or has gotten to his ceiling at this point. When you look at those seven attributes of a elite quarterback, there's not many on that list he's going to be able to change in the offseason. Arm strength? Not really. Mobility? You had it once. Maybe you can go back to that if Mike McDaniel let you, but he's not letting you. Health and durability? Okay, so you showed it this year, but if you try to be more mobile, are you risking that health and durability? Accuracy? Absolutely. You're accurate when the play is there. When the play isn't there, we've also seen that accuracy really, really, really drops. So you have to wonder about that. And the intangibles, I'm not convinced he's got his heart in it. So that's just where I am in coachability. Yeah, I believe he's coachable because he's best friends with Mike. So we'll get into that. So Barry, you think Tua is barely above S? No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that at all. I think Tua is one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. Not saying at all that he's just above poop. What I'm saying is I think he's close to or has met his ceiling, and I don't think there's going to be much improvement moving forward. Is that good enough to beat a lot of teams and rack up wins? Absolutely. We saw that this year. So he can't be poop because we just saw what he did. I'm talking about when you get to the November, Decembers, and January of the year where you're actually every single game actually means something. He has not shown, as of today, the propensity, the ability to do that. He has not shown the ability to put a team on his back and win. That's why I think he has reached his ceiling, because not only does he not perform in the late part of the season, his performance falls off tremendously. And if you don't believe that, then I can't help you. If you're only thinking about offensive line and you're only thinking about injuries, his performance, the offensive line had nothing to do with him missing throws wide open. The offensive line didn't have anything to do with that. The offensive line didn't have anything to do with him skipping a ball behind the line of scrimmage. Maybe, the play call wasn't good, but it should have still been completable, if that's a word. When you look at a game, you look at film, there's stuff that's just not being done. So my question is, why aren't they bringing in quality competition? Again, let me say it before I get in here. I am not saying to trade Tua. I am not saying to cut Tua. All this show is about tonight is let's bring in some competition, because the more competition you bring in, the more elevated your game has to become. The whole thing, iron sharpens iron. Well, then if you brought in some more iron, you're going to see how somebody responds. Forget Mike White, forget Teddy Bridgewater. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about bringing in competition where ex-quarterback and Tua both have equal amount of reps with the first team unit. You can't compare a quarterback when Tua's playing with the first unit and you're playing with the scrubs. There's a difference when you're running pass patterns. You got Waddle and Tyreek and Wilson versus Eric Ezekama, Claypool, and whoever else is going to be out there. I want to see people compete apples to apples. Put a team on his back. That concept exists. It totally does. That's not a stupid myth. Lamar and Josh put their teams on their back. They win Super Bowls every year. If you don't think that Lamar and Josh can put a team on their back, you didn't watch any football. I'm sorry, you're wearing the wrong colored glasses, because throughout the season, up until the time they were both eliminated, they indeed put the teams on their backs with injuries. Those excuses won't work with me. I'll point them out to you. Tell me how the Buffalo Bills were basically in third place and had to go on a 6-game winning streak to get into the playoffs. Well, I watched and actually broadcast a game where Josh Allen put that team on his back and actually did what needed to get done. So Tua didn't. I'm sorry. What do you want me to say? It's right there in front of you. So anyway, I'm going to move on here. What we're going to talk about right now is why not Justin Fields? Why would we not bring in Justin Fields? So if you want to comment on why you wouldn't. So here's what I had posted. And it was very interesting. I wanted to wait and get enough responses. Bringing in Justin Fields at the right price. Let's go ahead and make sure we use that caveat, because if he's too expensive, either draft pick wise or money, no, it doesn't make any sense at all. No reason to even go forward. So bringing in Justin Fields at the right price to compete against Tua isn't a bad move for the Miami Dolphins. Not at all saying to cut or take Tua, that's what I said, but there's no downside in running some serious competition at him. Why not? Why wouldn't you bring him in? So in order to do that, what you need to do is begin that parallel. And that parallel was arm strength, arm strength. Who's got a stronger arm, Justin Fields or Tua Tagovailoa? What's his name? Justin Fields. Who's more mobile? Easy question. Justin Fields. Who's better health and basically durability? Justin Fields. Who's got better accuracy? Tua. Who has more speed? Justin Fields. Who has the intangibles of winning and wanting to be even better? I'm actually going to give that to Tua over Justin Fields, because he has won more than Justin Fields has. So I got to believe that Tua has that intangible that maybe Mike can bring out more. And then the last one being coachability, obviously Tua, because Justin Fields didn't have the type of coaching to nourish and bring a young quarterback on. So one of the things that is funny when you take a look at it, and I'm going to play this, and I want you to be honest, completely honest, and tell me if you think Tua this year could have made this play. Here's a blitz, gets away from him, runs outside, and finds a guy all the way down the field for a touchdown. So obviously Tua can make that throw to Tyreek. We've seen him do it many a times, but he didn't have to evade that many people to make that kind of throw. Yes, that was a halo, that wasn't a rocket, but what I wanted you to see was the beginning of the play and his ability to move and get outside the pocket. Tua can't show that. Justin Fields showed that all the time. So let me show you something else here. And I'm not making the case for Justin Fields. I'm just showing you the information. I think last last week or so, I talked to you about the various information that there was about Tua and his pre-draft combine and how they had scouted him. So you guys had seen that. And if not, I urge you to go look at that. And basically, when you looked at that, and you can basically, a lot of you guys love stats, right? So let's look at some stats. We've got Tua this year, threw for 4,624 yards, did a 69.3% completion rate, 29 touchdowns, 29 sacks, etc., 101.1. Now understand, when you go back, if you were to look at Justin Fields, wow, that's a big drop-off, right? 2,562, 61.4. But he didn't have the type of coaching that Mike McDaniel would bring to him. He only had 16 touchdowns versus 9 and only an 86.3. Understand at this point that he was playing on a team. Look at his wide receivers here. Dante Moore had 1,300, 719 for a tight end, and then only 400 for his third choice there, his third target. He didn't have the weapons. They didn't run the style offense that this team runs right now. This team being the Miami Dolphins. So what I'm saying is, you can't compare stats because you're talking apples to oranges. You're looking at a complete spread offense to whatever the Chicago Bears were doing. They weren't running the same kind of offense. That's why stats don't matter. The other 7 do. And I can't see how there would be any issue if bringing somebody who's got a stronger arm, more mobile, more durable, has better health record, faster, competing against a guy who's got better accuracy, at this point, a bigger intangible in terms of his heart, and is coachable. So you're basically 4-3 right there in terms of Justin Fields. I mean, there's pretty much no doubt about it. I mean, it was funny. A couple guys commented here, which I just found was really, really funny, is that there were people in here who actually said that nobody other than Tua could run this offense. There are people out there actually saying Tua is the only quarterback in the NFL that could run Mike McDaniel's offense. Think about how silly that is. Think about how naive that is. To think that there's no other quarterback, all 90 quarterbacks in the NFL, there's not a single other quarterback that could run this offense. Come on, man. Come on, people. Competition will tell you who can do this. So there's 2 other quarterbacks I want to bring up and mention as well. A lot of you guys are going to laugh at this one, but I was surprised how many people went, he's going to be cheap. Zach Wilson with Mike McDaniel, the quarterback whisperer. He worked with Tua. It worked on Tua. Whatever quarterback whispering Mike McDaniel was doing, it obviously worked on Tua. Here's a reclamation project. Here's a guy whose physical tools are bigger than Tua's. Notice I didn't say better. He's got a bigger arm. He's got more mobility, more strength, more durability. Tua obviously excels in terms of the other intangibles, and he can actually, he's coachable. Is Zach Wilson coachable? Could Mike McDaniel bring out the good in Zach Wilson? Well, it's going to be dirt cheap. He's going to be really cheap. They're just going to want to get rid of him. Why not bring Zach Wilson in with that cannon of an arm he has? Couldn't imagine what he would do if Mike McDaniel was able to take that ball of clay, and mold him. Of course, people's first instant reaction, oh, he's trash. He's crap. Yeah, he was crap in New York. He was absolutely dog poop crap. But what if you fix him and you get him cheap and you show him a different way of doing things, because Mike McDaniel is the guru. Mike McDaniel took a damaged player like Tua, who looked in the mirror and said, do I suck? And you took a 700 play tape to show him that you don't suck. So you obviously know how to get in people's heads, right, Mike? Well, here's a guy with all the physical tools. He's got every one of the boxes that you want to check in terms of physical tools. He's going to be dirt cheap. Do you think you could work some magic on him? What's the worst that could happen? He runs up against Tua and he doesn't win the job, and you got a great backup just in case, because it may take you a year to mold Zach into what he needs to be. That's called not being afraid of doing something. And both of these guys, at least, these have to be trades. These aren't free agents. So I'm going to go through the free agents with you in a second so you can see who's out there that's a free agent, because I think you need to know that as well. Who are the free agents? God, I got my allergies are back. But these are trades that maybe won't take much. Maybe a seventh. Maybe a pick in 2025. They're not going to cost a lot for the Dolphins to bring in either Fields or Zach Wilson. And I know not everybody, a lot of people who are ignorant are going to say he's trash. Okay. All the reason more why he's cheap. So the question you have to ask yourself, not is he trash? We know Zach Wilson played horrible this year. Not even up to debate. Absolutely horrible. The question I'm posing to people, and you guys can choose to answer, is can Mike McDaniel help and fix Zach Wilson with the physical tools that he has? That's the question you have to ask yourself. He fixed Tua, right? If you believe that Mike McDaniel fixed Tua, then you'd have to believe that given the physical ability of Zach Wilson, that it's pretty much a cheap shot to say, what do we got here? Maybe we can do something. And at minimal, it's a huge upgrade from Mike White. Huge upgrade from Mike White. So that's a question. So let's look at this, because this is really interesting. This is a list of the free agent quarterbacks from this year. Kirk Cousins, he's 35 years old and he gets a boatload of money. He's out there. I don't think Kirk Cousins is a fit whatsoever. I think he's just way too expensive for what the Miami Dolphins need right now. Ryan Tannehill, same thing, 35 years old, already been here, making $30 million a year. Doesn't really make sense to me. Jacoby Brissett, nah, been there, done that. Tyrod Taylor, nope, again, 34 years old, not worth it. Marcus Mariota, nope, hasn't played up to any potential. Sam Darnold, no, he's seeing ghosts, and I don't think he's a guy to bring in. Jameis Winston, we've talked about him. Nope, wouldn't bring him in. Drew Lock, not really. But then you get to the next two names. You get to Baker Mayfield and Gardner Minshew, 27 and 28. Baker Mayfield threw for 4,000 yards this year with the Tampa Bay Bucks. Gardner Minshew threw for 3,300 with the Indianapolis Colts. $4 million for Baker and $33.5 million for Gardner Minshew. I would argue that neither of those quarterbacks are going to see anywhere near that kind of money. I got to believe that Baker Mayfield, having made it to the playoffs again and getting another playoff win, which makes him have more wins than Tua Tagovailoa, is going to be in that $20-25 million range. You're going to have to pay that kind of money. Well, why not go after Baker Mayfield? I'm not really sold on Gardner Minshew, but why wouldn't you go after a Baker Mayfield? So it was funny because TD, when he did his show today live, he was talking about the same thing. And I had done a video last year when everything was happening, and I said, hey, last year I told everybody, hey, Baker Mayfield, you're going to be able to get him for under $5 million. And people laughed. Baker Mayfield is washed. Yep. How do you think now? Go back and look at that video last December. I said that the Miami Dolphins should go after Baker Mayfield. Free agent, And if you went down that list of intangibles or attributes, arm strength, gun, mobility, off the charts, health, has had some health issues, accuracy, not as good as Tua, but he's accurate, speed, a lot faster than Tua, intangible, dude has heart beyond heart. Dude has so much heart. Coachability, absolutely. He is a sponge. And I said all this last year, and people laughed. And I said, man, there's no reason why not to bring Baker Mayfield in. I mean, he got paid $4 million this year, so he would have had him on the Miami Dolphins roster at $4 or $5 million. Wouldn't have needed Mike White, and you would have had a backup that would have challenged Tua in practice. God forbid we give Tua competition. We can't do that. So this is funny because this is what TD posted, and I got to show it to you. It's funny. Let me hit refresh on this because I want to show you exact numbers. So TD posted this, and he said, retweet, offer Tua 4 years at $120 million, $70 million guaranteed. So that's $30 million a year. If declined, trade him or sign Baker Mayfield in free agency on the same deal. Cheaper than the $50 million Tua, and now we afford to sign Wilkins or a combination of Connor, Hunt, Van Ginkel. Baker's similar numbers to Tua. Yes, that's true. Less interceptions for Baker, but more yards for Tua. Amazing idea. First option. Amazing idea. Team first, 71%. Heck no. Tua over team. Tua over team. I want you to let that sink in for a second. When you hear some of the people in these comments and you see some of the nuttery going on with Tuanon and you see what's going on Twitter, understand that nearly 30%, and it's a small sample size, only 200 votes, 30% take Tua over the team. That's what the Miami Dolphins are faced with. Do I think it's 30%? I think if it was a bigger poll and more people responded, I think it'd be about 25, maybe 25, 27%. But they're the most vocal. They're the ones that talk the most shit. They're the ones who are out there saying everything. You're a clown. You're an idiot. You don't know ball. I've heard it all. These people are more fans of Tua than they are the team, and 30% of them weren't shy about saying it. That's what we're dealing with this fan base, with the Miami Dolphins. I am so glad that TD put that out there. I am so glad that somebody finally challenged people to show your allegiance. People say, you're not a real fan, Barry. Well, now you need to show your allegiance. I'm going to ask you guys in the chat here. Are you fans of the team, or are you more fans of Tua? Because when I saw that, I was like, you know what? Offer Tua 25 or 26 million. Bring in somebody like Baker Mayfield. Let him take a run at the competition. If Tua doesn't like it, hit the bricks. I'm over it. I am completely over Tuanon. It's nuts. And these people aren't thinking about football. They're thinking about Tua. I don't know if it came because it was an Alabama football thing or what. But that's nuts. You got 30% of the fan base. So imagine, and again, this isn't scientific, but imagine you've got a 60,000 person stadium and 30% of the people in the stands are only there, only give a shit because Tua is the quarterback. And they would probably go scurrying to another team if Tua got traded because that's who they really care about. Why listen to people who feel that way? And if you're in the comments here, and I'll take a look in a second, I don't think we need to even discuss things with you if you can't actually look at things and go, what would be better for the team? Do you think losing Wilkins but giving Tua $50 million is good for the team? You think losing Wilkins and Connor Williams and Robert Hunt because you can't afford to pay them because you're going to give Tua $50 million? That's my QB. That's my man. You're an idiot. I'll be the first to award you Idiot of the Month. If you think it makes more sense to give Tua that kind of money than securing the rest of the team, you're letting us know pretty clearly you're not a fan of the team. You're a fan of Tua. Ask yourself and be honest. If Tua wasn't with the Miami Dolphins next year, would you still be as fervent about watching games and interacting with people, whether it be here or on Twitter or wherever? Would you still watch every single game? Would you go to the games if Tua wasn't the quarterback? I challenge people to tell me that. I challenge you to tell me if Tua wasn't on this team next year, be honest and say, I'm good with that. I'm good if Tua is gone. I'm good if Justin Fields comes in and they, move Tua. I'm good if Tua, says I'm not playing for $25 million and sits out the year. I'm good. I am. I'm fine with it. I want to do what's best for the team. So when people tell me you're a fake fan, no, I'm actually a fan of the team. When you're talking about you don't know ball, well, I know if we could keep Connor Williams and Robert Hunt and bring in some other guys, another left tackle or so, makes sense. How do we do it? Oh, well, we got to pay Tua less so we can make these other deals work. Are you willing to say that? Are you willing to say that maybe we should bring in Baker Mayfield? Maybe we should pay Baker Mayfield $25 million. Guy's going to 6x his contract. Remember, he got paid $4 before incentives this year, and he's won 2 playoff games. Tua wants $45+ million, and he hasn't done shit. Hasn't won a playoff game. Understand that. Baker Mayfield has won 2 playoff games. As recently as this year, he won a playoff game and looked good doing it. Baker Mayfield could be that guy that takes us into December and January. Don't know for sure. He'd have to be brought in and run as competition against Tua. Bring it. Don't pay him. So let me see. I'd love to know at this point what some of you guys have said. Baker Mayfield did his thing this year. Wow, Miami has had 29 starting quarterbacks since Marino retired. Let's make it 30. That should work. What the hell does that mean? If it's not working, you have to keep fighting until you find that guy. I don't understand why you don't get in your head. It did not work this year. It did not work last year. The Dolphins didn't win any playoff games. What the hell are you talking about? I feel like I just want to shake people sometimes and go, it didn't work, dude. It didn't work. No playoff win last year, no playoff win this year. It didn't work. Wake up. But they don't get it. Bring in Baker Mayfield, keep the team together as possible. Tua is a mistake to resign. I am still all in on moving free from Tua. Now, like I said, I wouldn't move away from him unless he thinks he can go get better money elsewhere. Go ahead. Go get it. I think Marino was speaking from his heart on Pat McAfee when he said Tua can win the Super Bowl. I will never call someone a liar if I can't prove that they are lying. But I can say there's an asterisk when Dan Marino was talking about Tua. And that asterisk is, what the hell was he supposed to say? Think about that. Do you think Dan Marino, who is the face of this organization, who is probably part owner in some way or getting paid by the team, is going to come out and say, we ain't going to make it with Tua, man? The hell do you expect the guy to say? Be an objective fan, not just a fan. Look at what has to be said. There's no possible way Dan Marino would go on television or anywhere else and say, no, Tua ain't it. You can't possibly say that. You even if you felt it, you couldn't say it. Even if they planned on doing something in the offseason that he knows about. He's a poker player. You cannot say what you're holding. You can't say, hey, listen, hey, Pat, yeah. So understand here, because this is the conversation that would make people understand. Hey, Pat, so you asked me, is Tua, the guy to take us to the Super Bowl? We're not sure. We're going to bring in a couple quarterbacks and run competition at him this year. We're going to see if Tua can respond to that competition. And if he gets beat out, so be it. If not, then Tua has shown that he can beat a guy again next year. And Pat McAfee would have went, whoa, breaking news, dude. Breaking news. Dan Marino just said they're not sure about Tua. What do you think would have happened at that point? You're naive to think that Dan Marino could say anything but Tua is the guy. There's no possible way he could answer that question any other way. Which is why, just with politics, the media is full of shit. That's why people like us are growing the way we do, is because I'm not on anybody's payroll with the Miami Dolphins. I can say whatever the hell I want. Dan Marino can't do that. As much as he's beloved and he's a record holder and has done so much for this team, for this city, for all of South Florida, there's no way. That would be like Gloria Estefan coming out and saying that, she's the queen of Miami. He's the king of Miami. You have to understand it, right? You understand that Gloria Estefan is, from an entertainment perspective, the same as Dan Marino is from a sports perspective. They made their bones in Miami. They're not going to talk negatively about the city, the players, the people. It ain't going to happen. It's just not good business. So that ain't ever happened. Dan didn't win crap. So yeah, somebody asked him, was like, so you're going to take it. I just saw the most snarky comment where Dan Marino said that Tua is capable of taking the Dolphins to the Super Bowl. And somebody said in the comment, well, Dan, how would you know? I was like, ooh, capable of winning a Super Bowl. And they said, Dan, how would you know? And I was like, ouch, man, that kind of hurts. There's some people out there who come out swinging. Like, I wouldn't swing at Dan Marino like that way. But there are people out there who's like, hey, Dan, how would you know what it takes to win a Super Bowl? Good question. I wouldn't say that to Dan Marino. See, that now you're just making shit up. I didn't say Dan Marino's a liar. And I'm only putting your comment up because before you go running to Reason or one of these other guys that Barry said, oh, Dan Marino's a liar. What I said to you is I will never accuse another man of lying if I don't know that he is. So, he's not a liar. What I said, and I'll say again real quickly, is what else is he supposed to say? I expect that man to be a dyed in, his blood runs aqua and orange. He has to. Absolutely has to. He's married to the team. We still need McDaniel to vastly improve his play calling during the game, as well as getting the plays in time for Tua to audible. Wait a minute. Audible? For Tua to audible? What's that? That doesn't happen. It happened like once, maybe twice. Tua doesn't audible shit. Again, that's down on those intangible list here. And in order for someone to be able to audible out, they have to be allowed to and can make those audibles. Tua hasn't shown the capability of making audibles that actually work. In fact, as I've said, he did an interview where he was heralded because he finally made an audible. Audibles happen all day, every single game, except in Miami. So, yeah, the parents, the people here. Tua is 1-6 against Buffalo, but he's beat the hell out of the Patriots, so people will tell you that. Peyton Manning took 5 years to win his first playoff game. Drew Brees took 6 years. Why? You really want me to answer that? Because it might embarrass you. All right, so let me change that for you. The game that Peyton Manning played and Drew Brees played is not the NFL of today. The NFL of today is completely different. With the salary cap, with the rules, can you imagine Peyton Manning playing with today's rules? Seriously, I want you to think what Peyton Manning would have done when you're playing in a rule-based league where you can't even fart towards a wide receiver. Unless you get him like what they did to Tyreek and bury him at the line of scrimmage. The game is so different. It's not even night and day in terms of what these players do nowadays versus what they did back when Peyton played. It's completely different. Peyton, they used to actually run the ball a lot back then with Edgerrin James when he was with the Colts. Come on, Terrell Davis when he was with the Broncos. Game is completely different. It has completely changed to the point where Mike Vrabel. Wait, did I bring that? Oh, yeah. Not to get off the subject here, but since you're bringing up how the game has changed, this popped up today, and I wanted to scream. A general manager at the Senior Bowl said that Mike Vrabel's physical build and size could have played a part in him not getting a head coaching job. Quote, I had a GM at the Senior Bowl who mentioned to me Vrabel's physical build, that he's a very large human being, and that can be very intimidating to people in an organization. Read that. Read that to yourself. Try not to laugh. Mike Vrabel's size is a detraction. It's a negative because it might be intimidating to people in the organization because, this big white guy couldn't walk in the room because I was scared. Are you effing kidding me? And you're comparing what Peyton Manning and Drew Brees played in to what these wussies are playing in? And I don't mean all of them, but this is we can't even hit during a Pro Bowl. They actually used to have, a Pro Bowl game. Can't do it. And now it's to the point where even the prospective coach is considered intimidating to people in the organization. I rest my case. I said earlier I was witness for the prosecution. That prosecution rest. Things have gone soft in the NFL. Things are so soft that if you had guys like Peyton Manning still playing today, he'd probably rack up 6,000 yards. It's incredibly soft right now. This is completely different in terms of football. So the 5 or 6 years that Peyton Manning took, the 5 or 6 years that Drew Brees took, where almost every single game they were facing quality opponents who were willing to knock your thing off, who weren't afraid to hit. I'm on a soapbox now. I'm telling you right now, Ray, what the hell's his name? Oh, you know what I'm talking about, the linebacker from the Ravens. He would not be able to play in today's game. Flag, flag, flag. He'd hit you so hard. He would not be able to play. Mike Singletary, with the crazy eyes looking to come at you, wouldn't be able to play in today's game. Bill Romanowski, who played with Peyton Manning, middle linebacker, sicko, wouldn't be able to play in today's game. Champ Bailey, who played with Peyton Manning, wouldn't be able to play in today's game. Don't try to compare what those guys played in and the league that they played in and try to compare it to what these guys are going through right now. It's completely different. You saw the Miami Dolphins in the Kansas City game afraid to hit. It was cold out there. We're not going to hit Patrick Mahomes. Ray Lewis, that's his name. Ray Lewis couldn't play in today's football. Couldn't do it. Just couldn't. He just couldn't. Guys like Ronnie Lott couldn't play in today's game. So when you're trying to cross era meaning, then and now, it's completely different. And it looks stupid when you actually say stuff like that. When you've got people saying, the coach is intimidating. He walks in the halls. He's a big dude. What are we supposed to do? We see this big white guy coming down the hall. Don't get me started. I guess you did. I guess you did get me started on that. I knew somebody was going to be stupid enough to compare Peyton Manning and Drew Brees and other quarterbacks to Tua Tagovailoa, comparing Hall of Fame quarterbacks to Tua Tagovailoa. That's friggin' insane. It's a different game. I want you to look up a guy named Conrad Dobler. You want to get a little afraid? Look up what Conrad Dobler used to do when he played. If you're too young and you haven't seen Jack Lambert play, I want you to go look up Jack Lambert. See what kind of linebacker he was and what he would do to players. The game that I love has become soft. And for some reason, because you look at stats and say stupid things like, it took him 5 years to win a playoff game, and you're comparing apples to papaya. It's not even the same thing. This year, this era, with this salary cap, if you don't win a playoff game in your first 4 or 5 years, you are expendable before you have to get to a position like the Dolphins are with Tua, where they have to pay him $45 or $50 million to wonder if he's going to be able to do it next year. What do you think Brock Purdy's getting paid this year? You guys realize? I'm going to let you stew on that. Go look up what Brock Purdy is getting paid this year, his second year. You will be shocked, because they brought in a guy who earned a starting spot, worked his way up. I just did a documentary on him. I know all about the Brock Purdy story. He got drafted as Mr. Irrelevant, came in 4th string behind Jimmy G, Trey Lance, Sudfeld, and then Purdy. And then Sudfeld they cut, and then Jimmy G got hurt, and then Trey Lance they traded. And so within 2 years, and this would be his second Super Bowl within 2 years if he didn't get hurt in the NFC Championship game last year. So don't talk to me about Peyton Manning and Drew Brees, because you kind of skipped over Brock Purdy. You kind of went, woo, we're not going to talk about Brock Purdy, who's in basically would have been his second Super Bowl in just 2 years, playing for basically the league minimum. Go look up his contract. You will be absolutely shocked going, oh my God, did they get a bargain? And so they know they've got him for 2 more years before they have to re-up his contract. And you know what they're going to do within that 2 years? They're going to draft another quarterback, because they're not stupid. They're not like the Miami Dolphins. They're going to cycle in another guy. Don't be surprised if the Kansas City Chiefs bring in another quarterback. They understand the cycle. You're not, if Patrick Mahomes wins on Sunday, can you imagine what his contract is going to be in a year or two? Hey man, I've won 3 Super Bowls. I'm like 28 years old, and I want $90 million. Well, so write the check. I mean, you gotta have Patrick Mahomes, but that also takes away from the rest of the team. So you guys who are living in the past have to understand why you're living in the past. So let me continue. After giving away 3 first-rounders, the Dolphins did that. Brock Purdy will always be better than Porcelain Tua. Again, so I'm going to say better. The definition of better. Arm strength, yeah. Mobility, obviously. Health, durability, he's been hurt as well. Accuracy, yep, I think they're about even on that. Speed, faster than Tua. Intangible, obviously. Guy was Mr. Irrelevant, now he's highly relevant. And coachability, obvious. And he's playing for nothing. Peanuts. He's an elephant walking around a circus, getting paid nothing. Surrounded by good talent, but when they got hurt, put the team on his back. Let's see here. I've been watching this team for 52 years. Wow, okay. I asked this earlier, Barry. How much would Jack Tatum or even Conrad Dober do in today's game? They get thrown out. Jack Tatum and Conrad Dober, I don't think they would know how to play in today's wussified game. I just don't understand. They wouldn't be able to do it. You guys want to see some stories? Go look at. I bet you if you Google the dirtiest player in NFL history, I bet you Conrad Dobler's on one of those lists. I bet you Bill Romanowski's on one of those lists. Dirtiest players in NFL history. And see what the kind of stuff that those guys did. I know Conrad Dobler's story intimately because as a center, he was a guard. I used to try and do some of the stuff that I found out he would do. And, it's scary stuff. Absolutely. Oh, there you go. Lester Hayes. Man, there's a blast from the past. Yeah, those guys, that was football. That was football. If we can't do a deal for Fields, Penix and Bo Nix should be available to the Finns in the first round. So they're not going to blow a first-round pick on a quarterback. It ain't going to happen. They're going to probably going to go after a tackle. Who knows what Teron Armstead's going to do. I'm sure he already told the team what he's going to do, where he's leaning. And so, they're probably going to go for big offensive linemen in the first round. Even though some of those guys would be available later. Let's see here. Oh, boy, you went old school. Lyle Alzado and the twos, John Matuzak. Did you see Alzado and John Matuzak playing in today's game? Nope. He'd probably doing Antonio Brown and go, I'm done. I can't deal with this shit. I bet you Howie Long couldn't play in today's game. These were guys that played this game at a Hall of Fame level who would take your friggin' head off. I mean, literally, I watched Lyle Alzado. I forgot who he got in a tussle with, and it would look like he wanted to rip the guy's head off, not just his helmet. It was absolutely nuts. Let's see. It was such a hater channel. Ooh, I can't put that up. You went hard to that guy. Yeah, Sea Devil is trolling. I know he is. Let's see. Chuck Cecil. I don't remember him. I vaguely remember him. Was he a defensive back? I think he might have been. Dan Marino was lousy at play action fakes and is effing an elite liar. If Armstead retires, we are screwed with Cap. Again, this is where, and I kind of get weirded out, is because the reason they keep saying about wanting to extend Tua is because of being able to move the cap, which to me is insane. Is you're basically taking money off of one credit card so you can increase the line on the other credit card. You still haven't got your finances in order, but it looks better because, hey, listen, if I do this and move the groceries onto this credit card, it's going to free up more over here. But you're still out. Or we can make a big part of Tua's contract cash as a bonus instead of his owing it to him, and we can free up money there. It's all just manipulation of funds because you didn't do what you're supposed to do earlier. Excuse me. It's like finding out after the fact that the bill's due when you already spent the money, and you just keep borrowing and asking Mr. Ross to write bigger checks. Oh boy, I didn't even mention him. I read a book on Richie Incognito. I read a book on Dick Butkus, and it still gets to me. As a kid, I read a book that Dick Butkus wrote, and he said something in that book that to this day, I remember telling my grandson, let me tell you what this was. Dick Butkus said when he tried to tackle somebody, he didn't look at the guy and say, I need to tackle him. Dick Butkus wrote in his book that I looked at the opponent as a whole and I wanted to go through him. Think about that for a second. I'm not punching here. I'm not punching here. I'm punching through him. I'm trying to go through him with my hit. And I was like, that is so awesome. But you can't even tackle that way anymore. So some of you guys are this must be the FOG squad, the FOG, because you guys know some of these players. I mean, bet some of the youngins in here are like, what? Who are you talking about? You know, Lawrence Taylor was tough. Yeah, Lawrence Taylor was tough. Absolutely was tough. But there's some tough guys out there, and Ray Lewis could not play today. Bring back Alec Van Ginkel. I would say that. Yeah, absolutely. Let's see here. What? That is the people listening to Omar. All right, so let me go out before we go too far down memory lane with some of these old players. But again, that's why I say to people when they compare and they regurgitate stupid stats that they hear on other channels, that Peyton Manning, he didn't get his first playoff win until 5 years later, and Drew Brees, he took him 6 years, and they're not looking at the changes in the game. That's why we went down that memory lane, is because the Legion of Boom with Seattle, completely different. When the Patriots beat Seattle in the Super Bowl because they didn't hand off the ball to Marshawn Lynch, the play that Malcolm Butler did to win would probably be interference today. Different era, completely different way players play. All right, so I showed you TD's poll. And so I just wanted to show you something else. All right, so just so you understood this is Baker Mayfield's stats this year. He threw for 4,000 yards, 64% completion, 28 touchdowns, 10 sacks, 94.6. And that's with Tampa Bay. Not the same kind of offense that Mike McDaniel had, right? Obviously. So let's look at, where's Tua's stats? Did I have it here? Yeah, okay. So here's Tua's stats, 4,600 yards, so only 600 yards more. 101 rating for those of you guys who like stats, 29 touchdowns, 1 more touchdown, 4 more interceptions. The reason I'm showing you these stats is stats are stats. That doesn't matter. What matters is, can a guy play? Period. Can he get you to the next level? Well, at this point in his cap, Baker Mayfield has 2 playoff wins. Tua has 0. 0. No denying that. No amount of Tua-nanish talk can change the fact that Tua has not won a Super Bowl. So, if you can get somebody like Baker Mayfield, and he's a free agent, so here's where the difference is. This is the big difference. Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, they may be cheap, but they're going to come at some sort of cost in terms of probably a draft pick or a trade. You're going to have to give up something. Baker Mayfield, free agent. All you got to do is come to him with an offer that he possibly would entertain and like. You got him. It's simple. Why wouldn't you bring him in? Tua, we're going to make you play on a 5th-year option, and we're also going to bring in Baker Mayfield to compete with you. Go ahead and beat out Baker Mayfield, win a couple playoff games, and then you get the big money. Right now, you haven't earned it. How would Tua take that? That's another issue, because I keep hearing people say, well, his feelings are going to get hurt. There's people out there actually saying that psychologically Tua couldn't take competition being brought in. Well, on my list, one of those intangibles is heart, fight, determination. If you're telling me that you're worried about Tua's psychological makeup, if you're worried that Tua might be upset and he wouldn't be able to take the pressure, then he's not your guy. That you've answered your own question. All the other stuff, don't worry about. If you're not prepared to take on competition, adversity, like McDaniel said, adversity means opportunity. Tua, here's a huge opportunity. We're not really sure yet if we want to spend that kind of money. So what we're going to do is we're going to, look to bring in Baker Mayfield to compete with you, and may the best man win. Why would anybody have any problem with that? Except for the fact you're a Tua fan and not a Miami Dolphins fan. There is, in my estimation, there is no reason to even be talking about extension other than your salary cap problems. But other than that, you got the guy locked up for a couple more years. You understand it, don't you? You understand he's on his 5th-year option. Then you can tag him 2 more years after that. There is no reason to rush into an extension other than your bank accounting and stuff like that because you messed up. But you can find ways around that if you don't go ahead and extend him. You may lose Christian Wilkins, but that's stupid of you to be in this position. Chris Greer, you shouldn't have this job. But we're talking about Tua tonight. And the thing with Tua is, if you feel, and this is something that each one of you probably have to just think about to yourself, if you feel that bringing competition in would upset Tua, then you have already underscored the problem. You're a Tua fan, you're not a team fan. I don't give a shit if Tua gets upset or not. I don't care if he cries bloody murder in his Christmas pajamas. You better show up ready to go in minicamp. You better show that you're ready to go to take this challenge on, because this other guy, I know he's going to take this challenge on. I know that Baker Mayfield couldn't wait to throw the ball to Tyreek and Waddle and some of the other guys dying. I know they're going to get ready. Are you going to get ready? You're going to get your head in the right place? Otherwise, you're going to get beat out. So if you think that Tua shouldn't have any competition run at him, then you're a Tua fan. You're not a team fan. There is no reason, unless you, in the comments right now, you can tell me there's a single reason why Tua shouldn't have competition for next year. Give me one reason. One reason at all. And don't make it stats because that's stupid. I just showed you two of them had about the same stats. Give me one reason why Tua Tagovailoa should not have competition in camp next year. All right, so let me see. Who's Henry there? Well said, Barry. Thank you, Sam. Yeah, I mean, some people are saying, I'm not anti-Tua. I'm saying, just say it. Wonder what Tua's trade value would be. Well, that would be something. Hey, let's go ahead and test it. Find out who wants you, Tua. Go ahead. Find out who wants you and if they're going to coddle you like Mike McDaniel did. Because he's the left arm. Oh, you had to say that, man. Because he's the left arm of God. Oh, my God. Oh, God. Wow. Please put your crosshairs on Greer and Ross, too. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I would love to see it, but Greer is too scared if he loses his job. Let's see what's here. The reason why, what do you say here? The reason that why Marino sucked at play action is because his running back sucked in and had 17 running backs in his career, and only one ran for 1,000 yards. Okay. That agent they have, yeah, that's one of the things. What's his name? Athletes First, I believe. That's going to be a major problem. And I almost saw Tua's entire persona change once he signed with those guys. I mean, they're known for pushing. I think they're also Deshaun Watson's agent. How'd that work out? How did Deshaun Watson work out for for Cleveland, giving them all that money? I'm pretty sure that God is a southpaw, and she always has. She's always been that way. Let's see what here. Tua's a good guy, but he's not even guy. Let's see here. Well, I don't see anybody. You're completely anti-Tua, but won't say it explicitly. Actions speak louder than words. What actions? What actions speak louder than words? I don't mince my words. I'm telling you specifically how I feel about Tua. In case you're not wondering, or in case you think that I'm being a hater, which again indicates you might be 12 or 14, because that's insane. People using the word hater. You're not allowed to have an objective opinion. Shows more about you than me. I said, and I will state again for the record, I'm not saying trade Tua. I'm not saying that we should cut him or anything like that. I'm saying bring in competition. Competition obviously scares you to death. I also said that I think that Tua is at or close to his ceiling in terms of development as a quarterback. If you construe that as hate, that's on you, bro. Not me. That's on you. You don't have the intellectual capacity to understand what I just said. You're thinking there's some ulterior motive. I'm being as straight as I possibly can. I don't think his ceiling has much, if any, room left, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with bringing in competition. I see here. Tua is a good man, but he isn't our guy. And I'll also say that I think Tua is an excellent man. From everything I've said, from his faith to his family, I think Tua is a stand-up, excellent man, father, husband. Perfect. I can separate the two. I don't know what he's going to do moving forward as a quarterback. I'm done talking to you, CW. You're a nut. John Ryder, you're right. Those youngsters don't know about Jim and Jack Youngblood from the Rams. They don't know about Jack Ham as well. Should I bet you they don't even know about John Offerdahl? Yeah, he was a nut. Yeah, he was an absolute nut as well. He shouldn't have competition because he should be the number 2 quarterback. Well, we won't know until somebody brings it in, unless they run competition at him. Antrio says he's hit his ceiling. I agree with you. California, what's up? Barry being a good guy has nothing to do with winning games. Absolutely not. Nothing to do with winning games. And it's funny. I want to show you something because somebody had asked me this, and I just thought it was so funny when they were talking about Tua being. I can't find it right now. I'm trying to scroll through it. But I had wrote something where I had said on the chalkboard, say it 1,000 times. This offense doesn't work without Tua Tagovailoa. No one else can run this offense except Tua Tagovailoa. You must say that. You must say that Tua Tagovailoa is the left arm of God, because that's how these people feel. You can see this guy Sea Devil in here doesn't even want it. He is so incensed that I'm even talking this way. I don't even know why he's here. But I'm just going to bring you truth as much as I possibly can, and we'll just see what happens. So I'm going to bolt here. Thank you guys for showing up. Please go ahead and click the like button.
Show some love
guys like
and
Sea
click
Devil are
that
going to
like
try
button.
to downvote this, which I don't care. I'm over that. I'm moving on to other stuff. Like I said, when they do something with Tua's contract, I'll probably talk about it. When we get into the NFL draft, I'll probably talk about it. I'll broadcast the NFL draft for sure, so we can go through all rounds with the Miami Dolphins picks, and then we'll see what happens, who they bring in, who moves, things of that nature. But I am not going to be continuing to do the minutia every single day. I've talked to my YouTube reps, and they said, you got to go big, man. Go big or go home. And it's time to change the audience. It's time to change the style of content. So tomorrow's video, unless something huge breaks with the Miami Dolphins, is going to be probably the first different news show out there that I'm going to be putting out. So hopefully you'll join me. Hopefully you'll find some interest in it. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell Tuanon. The fact that I'm not going to be talking about Tua might make them real happy. Talk to you soon. Thanks for showing up, and thanks for bearing with me that I missed Monday and Tuesday. Have a